This is Minibytes session 15. Thank you for joining us. We're looking at exploring the uses of Microsoft Maths and the inking tools in Office 365. To do this, we'll be looking at OneNote for Windows 10, which is a downloadable desktop product. And we'll also be looking at the Microsoft Forms tool as well, which has a math tool within it. Microsoft Math is also an app which you can download on your phone, and you'll find after seeing it for 21 minutes today how useful that could be on a phone and how it can help to act or supersede a scientific calculator perhaps as well. So it's session 15. We're going to be looking at the codes today for the session is TGT DAC F721. Now that's different to what's printed on the screen there, so I will change that in the notes, but it's TGT DAC F721. My apologies for the code being incorrect on the screen. So we're going to move across now. I'm going to come straight out of this and we're going to look into OneNote for Windows 10. You may or may not be familiar with OneNote for Windows 10. It's the newest version of OneNote. The common one on most computers is OneNote 2016, which has been updated and updated again to include some of these tools. But there's a new version called OneNote for Windows 10, which works exclusively with the newer computers, Windows 10 platform, and it includes all of these inking tools. Just so you're aware, it's fully integrated with a touchscreen device. So if you have a touchscreen device, then you can use a stylus or you can use your finger to use these inking tools. We're going to start off with ink to shape and inking tools in general. For this session, I'm going to be using a different computer to usual. I'm going to be using a stylus. It's just a rubber tip pen, which is on my touchscreen computer. So with ink, first of all, ink is anywhere on Windows 10. If I go along here, along the menus at the top, it's on the draw menu, it's draw, and I've got a choice of pens along here. So you've got rainbow and glitter pens. I'm going to quickly show you them all. So the default one, which I tend to use the dark grey pen, which looks like that. You do have options there of a blue pen, you have options of a green pen, you have options of a highlighter, which is semi-transparent, and you've got other ones here which have got pencil effects or grey pencil effects. There's the rainbow pen, which many people find is wonderful to use, and it's quite nice to have a rainbow pattern. And you also have this pen here, which is like a space pen, and if you colour in with it, you'll notice that with these space pens you can do a scratch and reveal of a pattern behind, but each time you scratch and reveal, if you don't overlap the ink, it can start afresh. So they're pretty cool pens here. Each pen has got a drop down on the ink. If you click on the drop downs, you'll find that you can change the size of the pen nib and so on. So you've got colours there. You've got additional textures, so you can colour in wood if you want to, or bronze, or you've got different sort of effects like lava. So if we go for a large lava pen, if I just click on the screen, I can make a large lava effect. Now this is all well and good, and you can pick whichever pens you want to do. I'm going to stick with the boring black pen for now, but before I do any more inking on here, I'm going to delete them. So you can delete them one of two ways. You can pick the eraser function on there and just wipe out, and you'll notice it wipes out wherever I've pressed a pen down. It wipes out the whole section at a time. So you're not going to be very unique with this eraser. You're going to be actually rubbing out little sections of inking at a time. So each stripe that you do with a pen will be wiped out. So the eraser tool can just be swept across the board very efficiently. The alternative is up here in the top left hand side. You've got Lasso Select or Lasso Select if you listen to American trainers, and that will select an entire area at once, and by pressing delete it's gone. You can use any of these ink pens or any of these tools along this top row to use these tools, which I'm describing as ink to shape, ink to text, and ink to math. And you will see here that they're each in order, and we'll then come to the math tool. We've got 21 minutes, so we'll have a little bit of time to play with each one, and we'll have a look at the other tools as well along here. So these are the drawing tools. Before I go any further, this button here, select object or type text, is the default cursor you have in OneNote. So if you click there, you just get a text area which just expands. If you click somewhere else, you will get a text area which expands, but if you click and drag, you select the area. There's nothing different there to any other product. It's just worth being aware of what the icon does, because it's got the mouse pointer and the letter A and the editing cursor at the same icon. Lasso Select I've just described, and this one here is inserting or removing extra space, because sometimes in OneNote it gives extra lines between blocks of text. The erase from pen types I've just described, the highlights as being transparent, and as we go through, we can see here we can add more pens. So if you had a favorite pen selection, you can pick from here and you can give yourself different pen choices. I'm going to give myself a blue highlighter as well for the sake of it. So I've then got a blue highlighter, a yellow highlighter, and if I colour them together, I make some sort of green, which gives a very simple example of colour blending for art if you want to do art on a screen. Let's just Lasso Select those, and I'm going to press delete to get rid of them, and we're going to move on. So ink to shape. You'll notice I'm using the mouse at times, and you'll notice other times I'm using my pen, my stylus. It doesn't matter which one you use, but I've got the stylus just for some more convenience for my handwriting and so on. So this is where we're going to go. I'm going to select a pen of any style of any choice. I'll pick the rainbow, the black pen to start with, and we'll see what happens. If I draw a simple shape, so if I hover over this shapes icon here and click it, I can see what OneNote classes as simple shapes. I've got lines with arrowheads on. I've got basic shapes of triangles, squares, ellipses, or circles, and so on. I can do basic graphs as well. If I have ink to shape deselected and I draw a shape, it just gives me my freehand circle, triangle, square, parallelogram, and I could draw an arrow like that. If I click ink to shape, which makes a switch, and you'll notice it's now darker in shade has been selected. If I draw a circle, well, it's an ellipse, but never mind, my circle was better would be better. Triangle becomes a triangle, square becomes a square. See, if I join up the shapes. Let's draw a square properly, George. So I'm going to go on ink to shape, and for some reason it's not recognizing my squares, which is quite awful. It might just be my line's not straight enough. So if I click on this, there you go. It's recognized my square at last. I can click on each of these as well in turn to try and see what's going on. What other shapes did I have? I had triangles, circles, ellipses, squares, rectangles work the same way, parallelograms. You just got to draw in a very obvious way what you do. The arrows. So that's done a squared off line, and if I draw the arrow head on there, hopefully it will recognize an arrow as we go. Now, with each of these ink to shapes, you can always click on the shape itself. The arrows, I've never really found to work, but it's very quick and easy to select a shape and select an arrow. So let's not worry about my arrows right now by drawing them, but in theory, they should come in as lines at the moment. You can do any sort of shape you want to. It's really quite useful for building up basic blocks. How would you use this in a lesson? Well, let's just add a new page and just go for it from here. So how you could do ink to shape is you can get a child to do a Christmas card on ink to shape. You can drag in the basic shapes if you want to, or if you leave ink to shape selected, you have a pen of your choice. I'm going to do a rainbow, and I'm going to do a rainbow. Give little eyes, carrot nose, and smiley mouth. I've now got my snowman. Doesn't look quite so rough and ready, but you get the impression there. So that's ink to shape, and it works with any type of pen. With highlighters, if I did ink to shape as well, it doesn't work. Okay, so highlighters are not affected by ink to shape. It's only the pens. The pencils are affected by ink to shape. Okay, if you draw a decent shape. Really doesn't like my squares. So there we go. So you've got ink to shape being in use there. You've also got a ruler on the screen, which you can use, and a ruler can be brought in. And you can manipulate that by making sure you've selected the mouse pointer option, and you can drag the ruler around the screen. I'm using my my stylus for this, and the rulers are interesting because you can rotate the rulers if you want to by changing the points. I'm going to leave this here for now. I'm just going to color in just for a little moment just to show a nice effect. So I can't color over the ruler. So if I now just turn that ruler off, you can see I've left a gap where the ruler should be, and that would allow me to get a ruler in place. Again, if I put the ruler in place there, I'm going to move it out of the way. It's multi-touch, so I just need to use 2 fingers to rotate the ruler. But if I try and draw a line along the ruler, you'll see when I move the ruler out of the way, my lines are in place. So I've now got the perfect draftsman's board, if you want to describe it that way around, and you can make anything you want to by drawing your lines on the ink to draw and ink to shape. Obviously, you've got a point of skill as well, so you could be working on your skills as you go. So that's ink to shape and how you might want to use it. I'll turn off the ruler. Let's have a look at ink to text next. Now this is where you often get the handwriting practice coming through. So if I wanted to do some handwriting practice, I could put my ruler in place and make it at a point where it is level. And I'm going to just move my ruler up here and draw myself a line. So I'm going to pick a blue here. In fact, I'm going to pick the sky blue highlighter. Draw myself a line across the page on both sides of that ruler. Now you can share OneNote pages, so you could pre-rule a page. Obviously you can pick a background image as well to pre-rule a page, but that will help me out. Now I'm going to pick a different pen and I'm going to try doing some of my best handwriting. So I'm going to pick the word hello because everyone picks hello. And I'm going to try and print it. And you can see there I've got an ink to shape that's made my circle, my O perfectly. But if I want to change this to text, I click on the selection tool or the Lasso Selection tool. If I select an area, then I click on ink to text. It will, the AI will take it that, oh dear, my writing is obviously awful. I can change it if I want to, but I can just type in there. If I try the other one, see if that works better. So the Lasso tool to select my text. Bear in mind, it's got a circle as an O at the end. Ink to text. It's got the word hell there because O became a circle because I left ink to shape on. I'm going to turn off ink to shape and try that again. I keep on forgetting to toggle off ink to shape, so let's try this again. Black pen, H-E-L-L-O. Joined up quite poorly. Do the selection there. Make sure I get all the letters in. Ink to text, and you can see how it's working well. So I can actually be handwriting on a small screen and using it as my digital paper. And I can use ink to shape or ink to text all the way across there to give shapes and to give writing in place. Let's move on. Ink to math. So ink to math, the math tool is along the top here. It's a maths tool. They've made it maths now for UK customers, but the math tool in Microsoft is coming across different platforms, including OneNote, including Forms. There's a math app as well. If you look for the Microsoft Maths app, you'll find it has all these tools as well. So let's start off very simply. So if I click the maths tool, it does tell me what to do. I either write my equation in ink or type it using the keyboard. Now it then goes through selecting the equation and tapping the maths button. So that's what I need to do. So let's start off with something simple. So I'm going to do pick a pen of my choice. I'll pick the black one again, just for contrast. 2 plus y equals 7. Use my lasso tool to select 2 plus y equals 7. And then I'm going to click the maths tool there and it pops up on the side. It checks my equation is correct. So 2 plus y equals 7. So I can now select an action. I can do ink to maths and it will change my handwritten version into a text printed version, which I can then manipulate by changing the text size and so on if I want to. And then I can also select an action from once it's there. Is solve for y or graph in 2D. If I click on solve for y, it's going to show me what the answer is. So I've got 2 plus y equals 7, so y equals 5. How can I know that's correct? Show the steps. It tells me what type of process I'm following, which is a linear equation in this case. And I can now look at this. It tells me subtract 2 from both sides. So y equals 7 take away 2, subtract 2 from 7 to get 5. It gives me the answer and the process to go. That's really nice. If I wanted to do a graph in 2D, it would show me the graph through. It's a straight line graph. But I'm going to carry on with this solve for y for a moment and look at this last question. Generate a practice quiz. As a child in OneNote, I can do this myself. As a teacher in OneNote, I can save myself a lot of time. It takes the principle of that question there, which I've just put in place. Generate a practice quiz. I click on the icon and I get given some options. So just give me a moment for the computer to catch up with us. There we go. So the practice math quiz is coming up now. It's got math here. What this does, this takes the quiz question which you've just inserted in your OneNote, and it then gives you, it takes the style of that question, so a linear equation in this case, and asks you how many questions you want. So if I want to have 10 questions in my worksheet, I can click on 10 questions and generate quiz. And this takes me into Forms and gives me a link to Forms. This Forms link here is a dynamic link, so it actually puts the quiz straight in my OneNote. And I've now suddenly got this. Hi, George, when you submit this form, the owner will be able to see your name and address. I own it, so that's fine. I can then go through each one in turn. I talked about this yesterday, but there's a tool called Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader, if I click on this, will spread out the text into a readable format, and I can change the background if I want to. I can play a voice settings, but I'm currently not sharing my audio, so you won't be able to use that. Right now, let's come out of Immersive Reader. I'm just 1 plus y is 6, so y is 5. 4 plus y is 4, so y is 0. And I'm going to get a couple of just random answers there. The reason why I'm doing this, I've got no idea how to take me. You can see that actually goes through. It's made 10 questions for all of a similar style. Once I click on submit, because it's a quiz, I can view the results straight away. So this is Microsoft taking what the teacher's given me, which is one sum, making up 10 similar questions, and they're self-marking questions as well. So I can see I got 40%. Let's see how well I did. I got those first two right because I thought about it. That's correct as well through random chance. The incorrect ones, it's highlighting, saying what I've got wrong. Now you'll note that because it's an automatic quiz, it doesn't show you why I got these things wrong, but it does show that they were incorrect. As a teacher, I can go into forms and I can change the feedback I provide, but this could be a very good starting point. So let's just go back to the math tool, this blank page here. I'm going to just show a more complex math solution for older children. I'm going to go on ink again, and I'm going to do 2 squared. Sorry, shouldn't be 2 squared. I'm going to do x squared minus 5. X squared minus 5 equals y cubed. Let's just see if it picks this up. So again, I'm going to lasso this, ignore my 2 squared. I'm going to do the maths button there because I've selected it. X squared minus 5 equals y cubed. I select an action here. I can solve for x, and it shows me how that works. I can solve for y, and it shows me how that works. And I can graph it in 2D, so I can see what that graph looks like. Very odd graph, that's fine. If this equation was wrong, I can click on fix it, and I can circle the part of the equation I want to fix. I'll get rid of that cubed sign. I'm just going to delete it. Click on done, and now I can use the lasso tool again. Apologies. Use the lasso tool again. Make sure I get the x in there, or this doesn't work. X squared minus 5 equals y. I'll do ink to maths. So I'll click on the maths tool there, and you can see there it's got rid of the cube. And I can select an action, solve for x, solve for y, or graph in 2D. So I can see straight away what sort of, I'm getting a classic squared graph there, which gives you an elliptical shape. So that's all possible in OneNote in one go. So maths teachers, beware that your students might be able to get assistance through the maths tool there, but likewise they can get their own quizzes, and you can self-mark those quizzes as you go through. I'm going to reduce this side down, and I'm going to go into forms very briefly for the last couple of minutes. This is an untitled quiz. A quiz in forms is something which you can have correct answers to. So I'm going to call this a maths quiz, and I'm going to add a new question. And you'll see here I've got options down the side, but I'm going to go for a choice question. I'm going to say x plus 7 equals 8. OK, if I click on these 3 dots in the bottom corner, I've got a maths option here. Click on the maths option, I can then see that I get the equation. So I'm going to paste that equation in the maths tool. OK, x plus 7 equals 8, and I can put in anything else I want to there. But as it goes through, x plus 7 equals 8, and then what will happen is I get suggested results, and I can add them all that I want to go, and it automatically puts in the correct answer. When I then carry on, I can go and add new, and it gives me question ideas straight away. So it borrows the same question styling again, and I can add all those questions straight away, and very quickly I've generated a maths quiz, which is self-marking. And if I wanted to put in feedback for the children, I can go to each individual question, and I can then put on this more settings here. I can shuffle them if I want to. So each child gets a different order of question answers. On these, if I click on the speech bubble next to the correct answer, I can put in a comment next to each one. So on this x equals 3, I can put in here that they've made a mistake, and actually 8 take away 7 equals 1. So x equals 1. So I can put that comment in for each one in turn. It takes a bit of time, but it's worth it for the feedback straight away. And if I copy that, and I'm going to go on here and put the speech bubble there and paste it. When I try this preview, I'm going to get that question wrong deliberately. I'll put the other ones in as random answers. When I click on submit, when I view my results, I can see there that the commentary for my incorrect answer is there. And if that was a wordy response, the teacher will be able to explain without spending any more time. So there we go. That is the inking tool and the maths tool in 21 minutes in OneNote and also in Microsoft Forms. There are other Microsoft products that use these tools, and you can combine this with Dictate across those tools as well to use your ink and your dictation to create a lot of worksheets and a lot of volume of content very fast. I'm going to go back into Teams now, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And what will happen next is you'll see my face. If you have any questions, you please feel free to use the chat function. If you don't have any questions, that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a whistle-stop tour through some tools today, which I hope you found useful, mainly using OneNote for Windows 10. If you don't have those icons in place, check you've got the right version of OneNote. It's ink to text, ink to math, ink to shape, the math tool as a whole, and forms to automatically generate a maths quiz. Thank you for your time.